Alright guys, welcome to another video. Today what I'm going to be showing you is how to scout on onX maps. So I've been using onX for like 2 years now, and it is one of the most incredible apps that I've ever used, especially for public land hunting, which we do a ton of. And so what I'm going to do is I found a place that I've never went on before. I don't know anything about it at all. And I looked at it a second, and so what I'm going to do is show you guys how I would scout it since I've never walked on it, and then I'm going to do another video later of walking on it and seeing how it looks after we've looked at it on onX Maps, and just kind of showing you what I look for and how to find deer using the maps before you ever even go to where you can kind of put more time in directed areas where you think that it'll be better. What we're going to look at is some land in Missouri, and it is a 388 acre parcel, so it's real small. And what it is, it's pretty small for most Missouri public land areas. Most of the time they're bigger than that, but I guess it's decent size. And so what we're going to be doing is looking at a bunch of different things that I like to look for on this spot. And the reason that I picked this spot, I like it a lot, and I have so many different places that I already go, I probably will never even hunt this, but just as for sake of a video and showing you guys kind of what to look for, I'm going to go on here and show you guys what I've found or what I like about this property. So what I like about this property, first off, is that it has water, it has open, and it has timber and wood. So it has about everything you have. It has a river running right through the center of it, and then it has some open fields and land like that, and then it has quite a bit of hardwoods on it as well, mostly hardwoods. So you can see right down here where it comes up, the road comes in. If you can see my cursor right there, it comes up and over, and you park right here, and here's a boat ramp to get into the river. Now, most of the time you wouldn't know about this river and how high or how low it was or whatever, but this is a river, the Gasconade River. This is a river that I have fished in quite a bit, and so I know this river pretty well. Now, this specific spot of the river I have never been to, but I know that most places like on this river, especially these deeper spots here where you can see water going all the way across, that's probably anywhere from 5 to 10 foot deep. And then right here, maybe there might be some rapids and stuff. That's quite a bit I know about this river. And so you'd want to come in here and see if there was a place that you could cross this river on foot or not. So there's 4 areas that you look for, that I like to look for when I look at these maps and I'm trying to find a new spot to hunt. And the number one thing that I look for is bedding area. And we know that a deer can bed anywhere, that it wants to. But the most likely places that they will bed that I have seen is in thickets, real tall, thick fields, or on ridges, or like on the bowl of a ridge where a ridge goes over. Now, so when you look at this map and you see this place, there's a few areas, like right in this area right here, where you can see that it looks like it might be thick in this spot, and some areas where that a deer could bed if it is all grown up, if they have not brush hogged this. And these are some of my favorite places to hunt, because you can a lot of times see nice bucks in those areas in the daylight. Every once in a while they will stand up, and I love hunting those thick areas like that. And matter of fact, if you watch some of our videos from last fall, you would see where we seen some really nice bucks and real tall fields like that hadn't been messed with in a while, that are kind of overgrown. And deer just love bedding in those areas. And so if I can find a piece like that where there's real thick stuff, all you have to do is early season is walk through there one time, and you'll find either real thick paths or bedding areas in there, and then you'll know you're in a hot spot where deer like to get in that area and bed, and that is a great place to hunt. Another bedding area that I have found, especially living in southwest Missouri, on these big timbered hills, you'll see a lot of times that a deer beds just over the edge of the hill, and they look down the hill and the wind will be blowing to where it hits their back. And one of the ways that I found that to be true is there's this one public land area that we hunt, and it's almost all timber, and there's a lot of hills. There's a lot of big steep hills. And so what we do is we'd go down those roads, and several different times in the afternoon while I was walking down these roads on top of these ridges, I was jumping deer. And so I'd go over and look where they were bedded. And where they were bedded, I would jump them because they would smell me. And the reason they'd smell me is because they were looking down the hill, I was on top of the ridge, and then they would, when I'd walk through there, my scent would come down that hill and it would spook them and they'd jump. And so I seen that quite a bit while I was hunting in this one area. And so you could also look on these hills and just see if you found a lot of areas where they were bedding on these 3 little ridges that are here on this map. It'd be a good place to go check and just see if you found any big buck beds there in those deals. So that's one of the number one things I look for when I look at these maps, somewhere where I think these deer would bed. So you look for bedding. The next thing that you want to look for is for food. So, you know, the types of food that the deer eat. Of course, if there were crops planted here, which there could be crops planted here, you can see kind of the indentions of where they planted something in these fields here. And then, of course, we know that deer love acorns, so when the acorn drop, if the acorn crop is good and there's a bunch of acorns in the timber, we know that they'll be eating those. But they'll also, we know that around in this area they'll be eating just the browse and the different grasses and stuff around where they bed. And this was also something last year that I learned a lot, where deer were inside these fields that were just had all kinds of different leaves and growth. Different leaves and weeds and grasses coming through, and they were just browsing on all of those things. And so you want to look for those areas where you think the deer might be bedded, and then where the food might be close, because that's more than likely where you can get in between a buck and where he is headed. So you always want to check that out when you go and when you look at a map like this, and see if you can find a spot where you think they might be feeding. The next thing you want to look for, of course, is pinch points or funnels, where deer will funnel through a certain area. And of course, we know on this property the best funnel that you could probably find is a place where they cross the creek, or they cross a ditch going through where that creek is. And the best way to find those, of course, is just to kayak or walk around the creek until you find an area that's shallow, and just see if you find where their tracks. It'd be easy to see where their tracks are a lot heavier in some places than not. And I know down here there's a lot of rocks, and so things don't get washed out as bad. But if you ever hunt public land up north, which I've done quite a bit of, when you go through there, there'll be huge places where water has made ditches and washed places out, and it'll be real steep banks. And if you walk down those banks, every once in a while you'll come across a place where it's just not quite as steep, and you'll see just deer trails, just huge like highways going down that ditch and then back out of that ditch. And then you'll know that those type of places are awesome funnels and awesome pinch points where they go through. Another thing you always want to look for, and you can't always see it on a map, and a lot of times it's not on public land, but anytime there's a fence and that gate is open, you'll see places where deer go through that gate instead of going and crossing the fence, and it'll be like a little funnel where they walk through that gate. And I've seen before one conservation land in particular, where a farmer that owned the land next to him, they had a gate for some reason that entered into that conservation land, and that gate was open, and deer were going in and out of that gate. And so you always want to look for funnels and pinch points like that here. And of course, here the best place would be right there on the river, where you can find places on the river. And then another spot is on the north side of this horseshoe area, where you can see, you know, a deer more than likely is going to stay a little bit in the cover and not walk right out in the middle of the field. Not saying that they won't, of course they will, but more than likely they'll stay in the cover. And so they'll go right in between these little ravines or ditches in between here, and they'll walk the top of this ridge to get around. And so you can kind of look up there and see if that's kind of a travel corridor. The way to know that is go up there and look for old rubs, like especially early season. You look for rubs and just see if there's a lot going down that lane and a lot down that, just kind of a rub line going down that. You'll know that bucks use that quite a bit, and it'd probably be a really good spot to hunt during the rut. I don't know about early season, but during pre-rut and rut, that'd be a good place to catch bucks going across the top of those ravines. What do I look for? I look for bedding. You look for food. You look for like funnels or pinch points. And then the last thing that I look for is something I call overlooked areas. So what you want to look for in an overlooked area is areas like close to the parking lot, because most people, they park their car and then they take off walking to where they're gonna hunt. But sometimes right next to the parking lot is overlooked. I killed one of my biggest deer on public land in Missouri, and I could see my truck from where I was hunting. When I look at this property, some places that might be overlooked areas would be like, if you see right here by this road where the road comes around, most people are going to come and they're going to park down here, or they're going to park and they got all this area up here, so they'll park here and they'll walk in here. But this whole section right here along this river, where this river comes down and through here, this might be a pinch point right here, and an area that nobody would ever walk in these areas. And this here, to me, it looks like it's probably around 10 to 15 acres right here. So you could park down here and come down here and walk in these woods and check, and nobody might ever come in this area to hunt. And so you'd want to check that. Another place you want to check is if somebody crosses this river over here. This is a spot in this area, and even down, this might be a river crossing, but over here, this is a nice area that you could look, because this is real steep right here. But this might, up here when you get up higher, this might be a spot where nobody ever goes. And so you could go in there and you could try that. So those are the 4 things I look for: bedding, food, funnels, and then overlooked areas that haven't been seen very much. And then you'll go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark these places on my onX app, and then we're going to go look at this land, and we're going to walk all around it and see if these different areas, what place is good, and just see if we can see sign that might be good for this next year coming up. But that's why onX, it is such an amazing tool to use when you go to these. It is my absolute favorite thing to have for hunting. I just love it because I can just look everything over really well, see so many different things, and I can mark spots. I'll know exactly where it is. They have a part of the app to where when you can mark a spot and then you can put a picture. Well, I go to so many different public land places hunting that all I have to do is take a picture of, like, let's say I find a big rub at a certain spot. I can take a picture and I can mark that on my map, and then later, instead of just having marks all over my map, I can click on that mark and then it shows me the picture of that rub, and I'll know, hey, that was where that rub was. And so there's just so many different great things about onX Maps. It's just an incredible tool if you hunt a lot. And so I would recommend getting it if you haven't got it. It really makes a difference when you go out hunting. So anyway, I hope this has helped you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like these type of videos, make sure you let me know, and I can make more of them like that. And we will see you guys on the next one.